Hello everyone and welcome to Fallen Angel Customs. This video is going to be a little different from my usual videos as it won't be a doll repaint. Instead I shall be crafting a critter companion for my moth witch. I originally created my moth witch back in 2023 and upgraded it last year by creating a corset to go with the skirt I altered. So after being heavily inspired by Miss Twisted's moth companion, I decided it was time for another moth witch upgrade and to create my very own companion. Let's get started. For the body, I started with these electric fairy wings for children, which I found pretty cheaply on Amazon. I actually took it carefully apart to remove the speaker since when you press the button once, it plays music, which I didn't want, so removing the film from the speaker stopped it from playing. I played around with the wing frames a little to A, see how they would work, and B, decide if I needed one or both halves for the best structural integrity. After drawing a curved edge on this piece of upholstery foam, I cut the curve and then cut it in half as it was too bulky and used it to elongate the body. After using hot glue to stick the foam to the wing box, I covered the whole body with soft black minky. When covering and gluing the minky down, I left two openings, one for each wing, and was also careful not to apply glue by the button so that it is still easy to operate. For the head, I took some of the remaining upholstery foam and carved it to carefully create the base for the head. Once done, I took more of the minky fabric and carefully covered the whole thing and glued it down. With the main base of the head finished, I glued it to the main body. Taking some wire, I created the armature for the legs. Taking bandage tape, I set to work on filling out the shape of the legs. I decided to wrap some toy stuffing around the wire first, leaving the knee joint plain, to speed up the process and reduce how much bandage tape I'd need to use. With all three fleshed out, I straightened them out and began to glue more of the minky to them, like little socks, to finish off the legs. With all three sets done, it's time to glue them to the body. I carefully freed the fabric from the belly of the body to be able to glue them in place. Taking a craft blade, I carefully created an incision on each side of the belly fabric in order to thread the remaining legs through. Gluing them in place before gluing the belly fabric back down to create a smooth transition. Finishing off by bending the legs and little feet into position. This is the back bow piece that I originally created and wore for my moth witch, and it's the perfect size for the wings, so I set to work on separating them into 4 pieces. Taking the frame wings from the electric wings, I tested to see how well the wings would fit on them and the right angle to put them at. With that decided, it's time to harvest the top layer. Taking some more of the base fabric, which I still had tucked away in my stash, I cut out a second piece for each of the wings to be the new underlayer. Taking some double-sided iron-on adhesive, I cut the wing shapes from it. So far so good. After the test, I attached the underside piece of the fabric by sandwiching the frame between the fabric and the iron-on adhesive, careful not to melt the frame, and sewing the hem all the way around. I also added some wire inside the hem to give a little bit more structural integrity, and using a pen, I replicated the outline of the original design. It's time to crack out the paint and start filling in the design on the upper wings, starting with the black. I repeated the same thing on the lower wings. Once the black is dry, it's time to paint the moonfire's detailing, starting by using white to apply a base layer. Doing the same for the crescent moon on the lower wings. Once the white is dry, I paint over it with silver, which took a couple of coats to build the pigment. Snapping the wing frames together, I added a little glue to the overlap to give them some more stability. For the eyes, I started by taking some air dry foam clay and began working it into a ball and pressing it into the desired shape. I ended up taking smaller pieces to work with as the first tries were a little too big for the face, but I managed to eventually work the clay into shape to make a pair of eyes that I was happy with, doing my best to make them as even as I can. Once they are dry, I glued them to the face using hot glue. Feeling they were a little too flat, I took a sponge brush and some gunmetal grey paint and painted the eyes to give them a little more life. For the antennae, I ordered this pack of 3 black ostrich feathers, choosing the best matching pair. Taking my trusty craft blade, I carefully used it to create an incision in the head to push the feathers into. It took me a few attempts to get the placement just right, and luckily you can't see the extra incision points thanks to the fluff of the minky. Are you ready to see the finished companion? I'd like you to meet Lumie. I'm so happy with how Lumie came out, and I couldn't resist on using a light reference for the name. I'm so happy I managed to get the long tail wing design to work, as the original wing design was inspired by lunar moths. If I was to try and do this again, I would definitely use a lighter weight fabric for the wings to put less strain on the motor that makes the wings flat. I can't wait until July when my moth companion can join me as my moth witch at my table in the convention hall. Which was your favourite part? For me, it's hands down the wings, and seeing them flat, I tested the fit and how they would look at every stage I could, and each time I got giddier and giddier. Thank you so much for joining me for Lumie's journey, and I hope you enjoyed a different type of project video. Until next time!